Sales of previously owned homes in the U.S. rebounded unexpectedly in February, advancing 4.2% from the month prior. That was well above analyst estimates for a 3.2% decline in sales. NAR Chief Economist Lawrence Yun says more inventory and choices are releasing pent-up housing demand. Here to dig into what this means for the spring home buying season, we have Danielle Hale, Chief Economist at Realtor.com. Great to have you back on the program with us. What do you believe is driving this unexpected rebound?
Yeah, I think it's important to put that rebound in context. So we did see sales pick up from January, but January had fallen quite a bit from December. And February's numbers, though higher, did not surpass what we saw in December. And they also trailed behind a year ago by about 1.2%. So it was a better than expected number, but still some gradual slowing in response to the fact that mortgage rates have been higher in recent months than we had seen them in last fall when they got down to almost 6% in September. So I think we're seeing some momentum shift. At the same time, the longer mortgage rates remain higher, the more that consumers kind of acclimate to this new normal. And the fact that we've seen mortgage rates kind of steady in recent weeks, I think bodes well for the spring buying season.
You know, that's great context, number one. And number two, as we think about the spring buying season, how are we looking at this kind of setup and what's expected to continue to transpire, whether that be on the mortgage rate basis, more tied to what we're seeing on the interest rate side in the 10-year, and how that could potentially unlock some of the potential demand that is still out there from new and first-time home buyers as well?
Yeah, so in 2024, we saw a really challenging season where mortgage rates dropped heading into the beginning of the year and then skyrocketed as we approached the spring buying season. So I think a lot of people got their expectations up only to have them dashed by mortgage rate trends in 2024. This year, we're almost setting up for the opposite because we saw mortgage rates climb heading into January, and they got very close to 7% again. Since then, they've relented a bit. You know, they're still not low by any stretch of the imagination, but they have come down. We're in the high sixes, 6.65%. As of last week's data, we'll see some new numbers later today from Freddie Mac. So we're seeing some gradual improvement, and that gives consumers, I think, an opportunity to better prepare for the market. They can set a budget and anticipate that it's not going to shift, and the numbers aren't going to have to change drastically throughout the course of the season. Though I would still advise that people should rate test their budget and see how fluctuations are going to impact their bottom line and the home price that they're looking for. But we're setting up for a more stable year, and that bodes well for home shoppers.
Okay, so would love to get your tips for home shoppers as they're perhaps checking that list and adding some new listings to it maybe, and trying to figure out how they can make sure that they're best positioning themselves, not just to go out there and put in some bids, but to also make sure that they're in a comfortable position over the longer term as well.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. So I talked about mortgage rates. We do expect a little bit more steadiness in mortgage rates, but it's still a good idea to prepare for higher rates just in case, so that way you already have a plan for how you might react. It's also worth noting that consumers have a lot of control when it comes to mortgage rates. You don't control the market, but you can think about the things that you can do to control your individual rate that you'll be quoted no matter the market. So improve your credit score, drop your debt or grow your income, make a larger down payment, which would improve your loan to value ratio and potentially get you a lower mortgage rate, or for the biggest possible savings, shop around for different rates among lenders, and that can also net you some big savings. The other thing that's not just for buyers, but also for sellers, is that the best time to sell a home is coming up. We have some very predictable trends in the housing market. It's a very strongly seasonal market. And we have looked at those historical trends and identified April 13th to 19th as the best time to list a home for sale. And if you're thinking about trying to hit that best time window, now is the time to start preparing and find your real estate team of experts to help you get your home to the market in the best week to sell.
Danielle, great to see you. Thanks so much for taking the time to break this down ahead of the all-important spring home buying season. We'll check back in.
Thanks for having me.